Jaina, Nightmare Adept versus Ulasht the Hate Seed. Plenty of mana in hand. We can go for a damnation if our opponent gets into mana dorks and the like, so we will keep there. Start things off with a swamp, just in case our opponent is one of those types that goes for a turn 1 wasteland. They are not getting into any plays on turn 1. I like their style with the new snow-covered basics though. Let's drop a Badlands and we'll go in for the Talisman. Setting ourselves up nicely for the Chromatic Lantern next turn. And because of Chromatic Lantern, I don't really mind drawing into Cabal Coffers. And our opponent making an absolute cardinal sin. Mixing basic lands with snow-covered basic lands. Some people do that if they're going for Field of the Dead, which our opponent may well be doing in a token-based deck. Where are we now? Let's concentrate on ramping. Field of the Dead, it cares about the number of lands you have in play that have a different name. And so you can have basics with different names. A forest is a different land than a snow-covered forest. So while they are both basic lands, they do have different names, which will help to get you up to Field of the Dead. Okay, we're drawing into some stuff to reanimate here. Let's drop a land. And now we are on 6 mana, I think. Yes, 6 mana. So we might as well just drop our commander, I think. And then we'll be sure to hold up for Phyrexian Tower, just in case our opponent has Lignify or anything like that. Looks like a lightning bolt's coming down. It is a lightning bolt onto Jaina. Luckily we can get Jaina down again next turn. Right, let's have a look. We can't make use of Crucible, so we'll just go for Jaina again. This is... What's going on here? This is 4, 5, 6. This should be 6 mana now. 2, 4 and 6. I just tapped out all my mana. Why won't you let me do it? There we go. I thought Magic Online was doing some kind of weird bug there, but now allowing us to play out our commander. Jaina gets haste when it enters. And we will swing in at our opponent, and hopefully, if we get into a land next turn, we'll be able to get some cool stuff going. If our opponent drops one of their creatures, we can go for Noxious Gearhulk. And it's just a case of limping our way up to Grizzlebrand currently. Because we don't have any means of discard or reanimation outside of our commander. And our opponent going for Acidic Slime onto our Cabal Coffers. That takes us further away from our big stuff. We can get that out of the way at least. Well, Shriekmaw will do it. And Shriekmaw is actually pretty good to have in the bin. So let's go like that. And then if we go Shriekmaw, we can sacrifice it in response with the Phyrexian Tower. And we could have gone in for Kiki Jiki, but thanks to that Cabal Coffers going down, we don't have the mana to do that now. So let's just go for Shriekmaw onto the Acidic Slime. I doubt our opponent will be playing any creatures that Shriekmaw can't hit. So we can now discard some of the stuff that we don't care about from our hand and go in for Shriekmaw. Swing in at our opponent and pass the turn over. Now our opponent's going to start getting into some mana with that, so we'd like to get the Satyr out of the way preferably, which we should be able to do with Shriekmaw. Could we actually steal that? Oh no, Zealous Conscripts only does it for a turn, doesn't it? Gain control of it and untap it. Yeah, the dream is to steal one of your opponent's Planeswalkers whilst it's about to go onto its limit break, and then you get the emblem or whatever the ultimate is on said Planeswalker. It doesn't look like they're plussing it just yet. So let's drop Dragon Skull Summit. We'll discard Grizzlebrand. And then we can cast... Why is our graveyard there? We can cast that for its evoke cost. We'll get rid of the Satyr. It will gain haste, not that it matters because it's about to be killed off with the evoke. Might as well sacrifice it in response with Phyrexian Tower for some more mana. And then we get that Satyr out of the way with Shriekmaw, ready to swing in with Chainer. Let's also go in with Zealous Conscripts. And we've actually got Infinite with Zealous Conscripts and Kiki-Jiki, haven't we? So let's steal the Crucible of Worlds so that we can play... Oh no, we've already played a land for the turn, haven't we? Oh well. If we're setting up for a combo next turn, that doesn't necessarily matter. We'll go in at Xenagos, in at our opponent with the Commander to pile on some Commander damage. And that gets rid of Xenagos. No, that's a shame. Our opponent's scooping before we see the combo. Just to explain all of that to you who don't know, Kiki-Jiki comes in next turn, makes a copy of a creature we control. We make a copy of Zealous Conscripts. The new copy comes in, and it targets Kiki-Jiki. So we gain control of the Kiki-Jiki that we already have control of, but the point is it untaps. So then we can make another copy of Zealous Conscripts, and the new copy enters, we do the same again. We do that forever until we've got 100 million Zealous Conscripts that are 3/3 creatures with haste, and we swing in for the victory. But our opponent didn't like what we were doing there and decided to scoop it up. So I think that is a short enough game for us to get another one going. Up against the same player again with the same commander, so we'll hope that they get into some better luck this time. We'll keep that. We've got some ramp in Ancient Tomb and Rakdos Signet. We're on the play again. And yeah, Squee Goblin Nabob is good as well, so let's go Rakdos Signet. Don't want to put too much life into Ancient Tomb, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for an Urborg or a Chromatic Lantern. Go away, final cut. Our opponent just starts things off with a tap land. We can just go in for a swamp here and we'll get our commander down. No lightning bolt from our opponent this turn, I wouldn't have thought. We'll just go in at them for 3 points of commander damage and pass the turn straight away. Okay, maybe they kept to one lander. We'll play against someone else, I think. Chainer, Nightmare Adept versus Karlov of the Ghost Council. Haven't pulled this out in a while, and Karlov is a very powerful, very underrated commander. Let's keep. We're on the play yet again. Start things off with Canyon Slough because that always comes in tapped. And it is a Fountain of Renewal for our opponent. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain a life. That is an M19 uncommon. I haven't seen that one before. It's got card draw tacked onto it as well. Yeah, that's actually a very good turn 1 play for our opponent's deck. Let's get into a sack outlet with Altar of Dementia. Actually goes nicely with Zealous Conscripts. Assuming our opponent doesn't get protection from red, we can steal our opponent's commander with the Zealous Conscripts and then sacrifice it for mill. I have no doubt that we're going to see our opponent's commander here. And there it is. Alright, a Talisman of Judgment. We've got Lightning Skelemental, Trample and Haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they discard 2. We can try and encourage our opponent into blocking that. So let's go for Sulphurous Springs. I haven't actually played with this card yet, so let's see if we can get our opponent to discard a couple of cards. I'd like for them to block with their commander, but there's really no point because we get damage through to them either way. And we're going to have to sacrifice this at the end of the turn. Now let's see what they discard. They get rid of an Essence Harvest, that's good, and a Blood Artist. Let's sacrifice and mill. Might as well, like I said, because we have to sack that at the end of the turn anyway. We mill a Grave Titan, some lands, and a Ravenous Chupacabra. A Dust Bowl from our opponent. Yeah, this looks like a spiky build that our opponent's made. They go in for killing off one of our lands with the Dust Bowl, and then swinging in with Karlov. We get down Urborg, that might help our opponent. So we'll go in for Phyrexian Tower, and we'll get down our Talisman. And then I think it would be a good idea to go in for Zealous Conscripts next turn and get rid of our opponent's Karlov. Assuming that it doesn't get protection from red, like I said before. If they hold up black and white mana here, they can actually exile the Zealous Conscripts in response, but we end up with gaining control of our opponent's commander either way, so it doesn't really matter. We'd rather keep Zealous Conscripts in play for the combo though. Alright, still going after our lands, which actually takes us off the Zealous Conscripts. So let's go Prismatic Vista. Does this just blow up non-basics? Yes, it's non-basic, so we'll definitely go in for a basic mounting. Then we'll go for Chainer. And Chainer does come in with haste. But I think I'm going to hold back. It'll encourage our opponent to weaken the Karlov by exiling our Chainer, and therefore it won't deal as much damage to us. Another land comes in for our opponent, which they will probably use for killing off one of our lands with Dust Bowl. We'll go up to 18 points of commander damage here. And then it looks like rinse and repeat, going after Dust Bowl again. Nope, they are instead going for Chainer. So let's sacrifice the Chainer, and we'll mill ourselves. And that makes their Karlov weaker at least. We cleared a whole bunch of lands off the top. Let's expand that so that we can actually see it more easily. Yeah, cleared a whole bunch of lands off the top, the Signet and Plaguecrafter as well. And our opponent didn't blow up our Phyrexian Tower, which is good. Oh, and we get into Living Death. That might be a really good draw. Yeah, I think we go for Living Death actually, as opposed to the Zealous Conscripts play. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And we'll grab a Living Death. Our opponent will get a couple of creatures here. Oh no, they won't, they'll just get one creature in Blood Artist. Oh, and scoop into that. Yeah, don't you love it? So our opponent, when they didn't win off of Dust Bowl multiple turns in a row, decided to scoop as soon as they see Living Death come down. Surely they've got board wipes and things in the deck, so anyway, we were probably going to deal with our opponent there anyway. That is Plaguecrafter getting rid of Blood Artist, they'd drain us for 1. Ravenous Chupacabra would also get rid of Blood Artist. We swing in at them with Lightning Skelemental, and they have to discard 2 cards, and Grave Titan brings in a couple of zombies. We mill the top 6 with Lightning Skelemental with Altar of Dementia, so let's see what we would have milled. Alright, an Urabrask, Noxious Gearhulk, Sidisi, Magus of the Wheel and some lands. So yeah, we were getting into some more reanimation stuff there if we could have made our commander stick. And I have a feeling that we could have done because we've got a sack outlet, we've got Ravenous Chupacabra. If we get into our Chainer, we can just keep sacrificing that and playing it from our hand. Or from the graveyard, I should say. And failing all of that, we can just go in for the original plan of Zealous Conscripts, sacrifice our opponent's commander to the Phyrexian Tower or Altar of Dementia. And yeah, was looking very, very sketchy there. And I really didn't think that we were going to win that one. But it just shows why you shouldn't give up in a game of Magic, because you never know what you're going to draw into. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed that game. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.